Yo, what's going on guys? AJAX here. Welcome back to another video for the First Descendant. In this one, I want to give you guys a chance to take a look at some of the classes, some of the playable characters. If you guys caught our initial impressions, you'd of course already seen that there are a variety of different classes to choose from. As you play throughout the game and you gather materials, you can then research these new characters, unlock them, and you can then begin leveling them up too. The system is, I guess, somewhat comparable to, say, unlocking new frames in Warframe, and of course, all these characters have their own unique playstyles, their own movesets, different things like that. So, in this video, we're going to go through the ones we had a chance to go hands-on with. Whether this is the complete roster for launch, whether there'll be more, we do not yet know, but the ones we did get to test out were pretty awesome. So if you guys do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know what you guys think of these, let me know if you guys have got any questions, and of course do be sure to keep it locked because we have got some more First Descendant stuff coming your way, so if you want to see more and learn more about the game, definitely keep it locked. So to begin with, starting off with SHAREN in no particular order, she is an incredibly cool looking character, almost has this sort of Raiden aesthetic to her with this really sleek mech sort of ninja style armor, and she is definitely all about embodying that sort of stealthy ninja playstyle. She has an ability that allows you to attack with electric blades, she can go invisible, which of course is really useful if you want to sort of sneak up behind your enemies and dish out some meaty damage. She has a projectile explosive, and she even has the ability to dash out multiple blades in her sort of alt style attack, and the actual way this presents itself is really cool because you have these ominous floating blades hanging behind you. Kind of reminds me almost of like Noctis from one of the sort of original Final Fantasy Versus 13 trailers. So she is like your stealthy ninja in this game. Moving on from there, we then have Lepic. Lepic is a really cool character, one of the ones you get a chance to choose at the very beginning of the game. When you start the game, you can pick from one of 3 classes, and then of course later on you can unlock more. He has a sort of giant mechanical arm, which of course does have plenty of explosive capabilities. I would definitely kind of class this as almost like your all-rounder, the sort of like assault-focused character. So if you are starting the game, he's like a pretty solid pick. He has a variety of grenades, standard frag grenade, and also a sort of tactician grenade that will pull enemies towards you. He has a way to also buff his attacks, and he also has the arm launcher, which can dish out some meaty explosive damage. Following on from there, we then have VIESSA, the sort of mage in this game, if you will. She is all about frost magic or frost energy. She has a variety of different skills that allow her to dish out icy projectiles. She can fire out an ice beam. She can enter a frost state whereby when she's in this, she can actually run faster, increase her shield, and of course also create icicles along the ground. She can also project cold air in a sort of fan shape in front of her to shackle the enemies, and for her sort of ultimate ability, she can also create a sort of blizzard style attack. So for those of you that like to sort of embody the more magical side of things, she might be a pick for you. We then have J-Bear, a really interesting character, one for sort of the, I guess like the tacticians out there. If you like to sort of build turrets and have other things to somewhat follow you, I guess kind of like pet style characters, this would be the closest comparison. He's a very tech-focused character with a lot of things you can deploy. He can summon an attack turret, which of course will go and, fight enemies for you, and it will last for a portion of time. He can also summon a healing turret, so of course if you want to provide some support to your team, this is also an option. He has the ability to switch his weapon into a multi-purpose gun, and of course this will also impact your turrets. And you can perform a big attack where you basically recall all of your turrets, all of your summons, and this will then fire out fragments in the process, dishing out damage to your enemies. Moving on from there, for those of you guys that want to be all about speed, this is kind of like a secondary sort of ninja style character. Meanwhile, the first one was much more about stealth. Bunny is all about speed. You can tell that just by the look of her armor. She is all about sort of that sleek, aerodynamic look. She has a really cool helmet, lots of sort of pulsating orbs around her body, and she is a fast character. She can summon an electro orb to attack close enemies. She can enter a joyride mode where when you're in this mode, you can basically sprint super fast. You can only sprint, but when you're moving, you also charge additional electricity, which can then feed back into your abilities. Plus, it lets you get around the world incredibly quickly. You can also enter the pulsar mode where whenever you're moving, you inflict physical damage. So basically you can combine these to dash through enemies and just dish out some meaty damage. And then her sort of ultimate style attack will allow her to shoot out electricity forward in a sort of like Iron Man style beam. Then moving on from there, one for the more sort of defensive, almost like tanky style focused players, you have AJAX. This is the one that I actually started the game with. AJAX, I mean, looks incredibly cool. He's kind of got those horns on his helmet and lots of very beefy looking armor, but he is definitely very defense focused. He has a shield, which of course he can summon, and this is something that you can shoot through, but will block projectiles from enemies. Plus, he accumulates void energy when the shield takes damage, which then factors into other parts of your playstyle. He then has the ability to basically leap towards enemies and slam the ground, which can then also leave them stunned. He has the ability to reinforce his body, and he can even create a sort of dome-shaped shield that again can protect your team in a 360-degree radius, and again can be used to build void energy, which can then power up your abilities later on. He's a very cool character and definitely a pick for the tank players out there. You then have FREYNA, who is also one of the characters I played as, and she is really, really cool. She is definitely all about damage over time. She's basically all about poison. She has a variety of different moves that will inflict poison on enemies, which will then do ticks of damage over time. You can dash out a poisonous bullet in front of you. You can cover the ground or an area in poison so that when enemies walk in them, they take ticks of damage. You can enter a plague state to increase your defense, and you can also summon this really cool sort of plague machine gun, if you will, which basically allows you to dish out rapid poison bullets on your enemies. Then for the support players out there, you have GLEY. She is a very cool character and one of the ones that actually has a sort of healing style mechanic. One of the few classes that seems to have the ability to heal. She can enter a berserk mode, which will increase the damage of long distance weapons. She can also recover HP when she's surrounded by enemies, and of course this scales based on, how many you are surrounded by. And she can even switch her weapon to a special weapon, which basically allows her to use her power of life to inflict more damage on enemies. So she's kind of like this sort of blood style character, which can play with and also sort of sacrifice elements of health. And then finally, to round out, we also have BLAIR. Technically speaking, there was another class which was like an ultimate version of Lepic, but his abilities appeared to be the same. So BLAIR is effectively your pyromancer. He is all about fire. He has various different moves, one of which allows you to cover the floor in fire, and you can then do this multiple times to basically cover a large area. And at any point, you can then also recool this fire from the ground, which will then replenish the energy you use in order to cast these fiery attacks. You can also dish out a flamethrower in front of you, and you can even cool down a sort of flaming meteor, which does do some pretty meaty damage. And he is a very cool character. But for the time being, that is pretty much it. That was a little look at some of the characters or the classes we had a chance to test out during the hands-on time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you've missed some of the recent videos, be sure to check out one of these ones and keep it locked for plenty more.